Hello everyone. Welcome to Soap Family for You. Phyllis sets red flags flying as she clashes with Diane and tumbles Kane's plan to moment on the young and the restless. Phyllis has a dust up with Diane. Tessa confesses her emotional struggle, and Jack worries about Billy. Diane and Jack arrive at the Abbott manse, still complaining about the barricade maze and Victor hiring Audra to betray Kyle. Jack scoffs at the idea that Victor will back off and warns Audra is bound to lose everything over this. Diane, knowing of what she speaks, says a woman with nothing left to lose is dangerous. Billy appears as Jack and Diane bandy, plots, and schemes. Diane skedaddles, so he and Jack can talk. Billy informs Jack that it's time they end their business relationship. Jack raises an eyebrow as Billy says Kane is considering buying out his interests. Shortly forgetting his family's partiality for threat-taking, Jack says he's CA and imagine why Billy would place his future in Kane's hands. Jack goes over Kane's deception and lies for the umpteenth time, but Billy doesn't watch to hear it. Single, inclined as always, Billy simply wants to know if Jack will vend his interest in Abbott dispatches. When Jack hints that he will, Billy accuses him of allowing he stepped over to the dark side. Jack knows Billy is going after Chancellor and Victor. However, Sally will be running Abbott dispatches if he's successful. Jack was making an investment in Billy, not Sally, so he'll call Kane to cut a deal. Billy informs Jack that they need to separate family and business. Singing the same old tune, he complains that Jack doesn't trust him. They agree they see the world else. Jack questions if Kane will let Billy call the shots. Is it possible that Billy's not seeing the bigger picture, that this is just another piece of the mystification that Kane's putting together? Responding as only a better would, Billy says Kane is a wild card, but he's willing to take the chance. Can Diane best Phyllis? Diane walks into Crimson Lights and sees none other than her arch-rival, Phyllis. The redhead makes it clear that despite going readily on her amid the pressure in Nice, they can now go back to the way they were. Rising to the occasion, Diane remarks on Phyllis using onto Kane and prodigies if he's since come to see her for the sponger she is. Phyllis purrs that Kane's CA and get enough of her. Diane and Phyllis continue to trade brickbats. Diane accuses Phyllis of blowing bank about Kane. Phyllis likes to keep the competition guessing. Diane scoffs, please, and points out Phyllis stepped over 2 dead bodies to make a deal. Phyllis tries to smirch Diane by saying she saw Damien die and that Chance was a good man who dated her son. To insinuate that she's unmoved by their deaths is affronting. This launches a debate on whether or not Kane is to condemn for the homicides. Without a hint of tone, mindfulness, Diane gripes about Kane deceiving everyone for the once 6 times. Phyllis gawps. Diane, seriously? How numerous times did you deceive your family and musketeers? Pretending to be dead, Diane takes this on board, but hits back that Phyllis faked her death as well. Jack's woman sniffs that Phyllis and Kane are cut from the same cloth. It's no surprise they're getting into bed together. In the domain, Tessa is trying to figure out what Arya wants to do when, who differently but Daniel, shows up to, really, save the day. Tessa introduces him to the child as her friend, and he pulls a packet of gummies out of his bag. This does the trick. Daniel notices they're both out of feathers and Tessa admits she's virtually a single mama since Mariah left. The visits are hard. Does he have anything in his bag to make her smile? Commonly, he thinks he does. As they sit on a fun and games mask together, Daniel tries to get Tessa to see beast shapes in the shadows. Once she's sufficiently detracted from her problems, Daniel ruminates on keeping your kitties smiling indeed when it's the last thing you want to do. Tessa confesses she's been crying herself to sleep, so Daniel gives her some further uplifting advice. Eventually, in a move that will surprise no bone who sees where this is headed, Tessa places her hand on Daniel's arm and tells him he's kind and gentle and makes others feel safe. Talk turns to napping and Daniel's forthcoming guitar assignment. He tells her he has a surprise for her. Tessa tells her she needs this assignment further than he does. As is used to be on detergents, he blurts, "It's a date," and also awkwardly backtracks. Tessa asks him to come with her, and Arya nearly first. At Crimson Lights, Diane warns Phyllis about getting Kane's coming casualty as Daniel arrives with Tessa and Arya. Diane rants that she'll leave Phyllis to give her positive spin on the murders and nice as she walks out to the yard. Daniel raises an eyebrow, and Tessa decides she should leave them to catch up. Phyllis asks to go nearly differently, so they C and B discried on, and glares at Diane as they exit. Formerly alone, Tessa gets flustered after a call about a staffing issue at work and drops commodity on the bottom. Diane weighs in to help, and they end up having a heart-to-heart. Diane pulls out a pack of crayons that she carries for Harrison, and Tessa remarks on the guardian angels she's had moment. Diane assures her she's doing the stylish she can for Arya, and that's enough. Should Phyllis be discovering Kane's secret? At Society, Daniel's vaguely disappointed to hear that the transnational man of Riddle, Aristotle Dumas, is Kane Ashby. Phyllis enthuses that he's moving back to Genoa City and bringing his conglomerate with him. Leaning forward, Red swears her son to secretiveness before brooding conspiratorially about Kane's plot to acquire all the major companies in city. Daniel's skeptical given his mama is short on details. Phyllis mutters about NDAs and similar. Daniel's spooked to ask why she's the one keeping Kane's secrets. His mama intones, "I'm the bone that's going to help him do it." In a moment of total déjà vu, Phyllis tries to tell Daniel that he could write his own ticket if he came to work for her and Kane. Daniel expresses mistrustfulness, though he's glad his mama has set up someone to match her intentions. That enthusiasm goes by the wayside, still, when he learns that none other than Billy is also involved in the plan. Phyllis assures Daniel that Kane is just using Billy. For what? She can't say. But Kane respects her and what she brings to the table. He likes the way I suppose. Scoffing down a croissant, Daniel warns his mama to use caution. Billy appears and declares it may be time to throw caution to the wind. On Sanguine Light's yard, Jack updates Diane that Billy seems to want him to stick him around, though he doesn't know why, but his family is determined to throw in with Kane. Diane tells him Phyllis is putting all her trust in Kane as well. Jack sees red flags each around. Diane reminds Jack he told her earlier that he might be willing to throw in with Kane. Jack admits he'd do a deal with the devil if it meant sticking it to Victor Newman. Jack worries that if Kane buys him out, Billy will be in a veritably vulnerable position. He can't help but wonder what Jill would make of all this. Jack warns Diane that if Billy aligns himself with Kane, there may be no turning back for the sisters professionally. Outside, Tessa uses Diane's crayons to draw a picture of Mariah, separate from a delineation of her and Arya. She tells the child that Mariah loves them, and they can't forget that. She explains that indeed Mammy's hearts get boo, razzies, and they lose tolerance, but they still love you. Still at Society, Billy and Phyllis snark at each other as Daniel looks back and forth between them as though watching a clunk-pong match. Daniel eventually intervenes to comment on Dumas being Kane Ashby. They presume on whether Victor knew, or whether he was pretending so as to appear the smartest man in the room. Stating the egregious, Daniel shrugs. He generally is. Phyllis declares that the power dynamic in Genoa City is about to change. Billy smiles. It surely is.